I'm here to represent BMC software. How many here know BMC software? Not the BMC as in Bombay Municipal Corporation, because I get that as well. So how many have heard or known or worked with BMC software solution? Okay, a few feeble hands going up. All right, so BMC software is in the business of business service management, right? And so today I'm here to talk to you a little bit. I got 20 minutes, so I have to talk really fast because I prepared for 30. So we got 20 minutes to really talk to you about what solutions we have, what kind of challenges we have solved for customers, many of whom are represented here in terms of the industry that you come from, and what solutions we have in the marketplace to help you win this Las Vegas deal. So let me not delay further, and I'll just go into what I have here. So, I mean, you all represent IT for your organizations, and you represent different functional group within your organizations, right? But at the end of the day, you all are in the IT team. So there are some fundamental challenges that we believe, and of course, we talk with tens of thousands of customers, and the consensus is, there are a certain set of fundamental IT challenges that your leaders within the organizations, your CIOs, VPs of operations, most of whom are here, and yourself kind of represent, right? These are the fundamental set of challenges. Be it IT costs, be it transparency, right? You have to reduce your costs. Of course, your budgets are shrinking, right? And you have to do it in a transparent manner, which is you have to define where you're spending your money and why, right? Prioritization. And of course, you also have to provide business value, right? So you're spending less money than you should, but you have to provide more value, right? And you also have to do it in a risk-averse manner. So you cannot open your organization to risk, right? So, I mean, that means open source solutions and those kinds of things have to be used, but of course, security and all of those concerns are in place. So, and then, to top it all, you have to do it with a high delivery of quality of service, right? So, simple sets of challenges, right? And I have a feeling here, this room is so packed on a Saturday morning that you all are, ready to meet all of those challenges. That's not the problem. But the problem is, when you have to meet all of those challenges individually, yes, you can do it, right? You can reduce your costs, go fire a bunch of people and, spend less on your tools. But then how are you going to deliver better quality of service? So the problem is not, the challenges is not when you have to deal with each of those individually. The challenge happens when you have to do them all together, concurrently, right? And because if you were to do it all concurrently, companies like BMC will be out of business, right? So that's why I'm here to tell you how organizations we work with are able to manage most, if not all of these concurrently when they work with us on adopting some of the BSM solutions, okay? Any questions here? I mean, I don't think anyone here is going to challenge that some of these, are some of the basic IT challenges that you face. So how do you break up? What do we mean when we say BSM, or Business Service Management? And BMC was the first one to coin the term BSM, but we did not copyright it. So BSM is now an industry term. And I don't think BMC is so much worried about it becoming an industry term, right? Because we all know, we all know about the silos of our business, whether it's release management, process management, whether it's automation, whether it's monitor and operate. Even within a monitoring platform, you have Unix teams and the Windows teams and storage and your networks. You have these organizations so much divided by silos, right? So that's not a surprise to you. So I'm telling you something that you already know. So let me take you back to an analogy that we use very often, and it actually connects with our customers, right? We're talking about ERP. How many here have worked with or familiar with the pre-ERP days? Right, lots of hands, right? So you must have encountered some of the challenges that you faced before ERP really came onto the picture, which is you have very manual processes, you have data structures which are not, common across these various environments, you have paper processes, right? That's what the environment was before. And what happened with the advent of ERP was ERP came with a lot of promise, and of course lots of services for folks like Accenture and those guys. But needless to say, SAP and Siebel and all of those, when they came on the screen, what did they offer to you? They offered a common data model for you to transfer the data across these various silos, right? It is a silver bullet, right? That was what they promised. And of course, 10 years hence, I believe that they have delivered on the promise of a common data model, right? Something that these silos can talk to each other. They didn't go rip and replace. They just basically said your financial system can talk to your accounts payable, can talk to your inventory system, can talk to your sales process. That's the promise of ERP, right? And what we're doing with BSM, right? And what we've been doing for, 10 plus years, when we coined the term BSM, is we've been doing exactly the same thing for IT processes and IT organizations across the world. We're bringing together these various silos of operations, functional processes that are within your organization, whether it's service request management, event and impact management, whatever you want to call them within your organization, like monitoring solutions, automation, right? Financial processes, project management, you name it, right? We're bringing them all together for you, providing a common data model that can be shared across these various organizations, that they're talking to each other in a language that they all understand, right? That's BSM. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that stack means and how it can help, solve your problems. So I'm going to go a little bit into how do we define this BSM, right? What does BSM mean to you, right? BSM is a nice acronym, business service management. What does it actually translate into when I talk about services, and how, as a team, you're delivering those services to your end users, right? So when we say business services, I'm not talking about end users alone, right? Where your customers that are paying you something to get that service, right? For an IT team, your employees are your customers, and they will, whatever you offer to them as an internal service, whether it's an HR service, whether it is time management, those kinds of things, those are also a business service. So fundamentally, I'm assuming we take this business service as something that you offer to users, whether they are internal or external users, right? And so there's example, order to cash or customer service, procurement, payroll that you offer to an internal service, and this is being delivered to them how? You are not individually going. I mean, of course, some of our team members will go and fix something that's on a laptop issue or something like that. But most often, it is being delivered through the medium of your IT infrastructure. Yes? Yeah. So it could be a physical infrastructure, like servers and your data center, or it could be a virtual environment, right? Because now we're talking about the virtual. It's a glut in some sort of manner, and then you've got these new buzzwords around clouds, private clouds, public clouds, hybrid clouds, SaaS, PaaS. You can think of all the possible names you can think of in the virtual space. So the whole P2V thing is, taking on a really, it's gained really momentum, that it's like a Grand Prix out there, right? Everybody's trying to race each other out to this whole cloud race. So now you have your CIO and CTO, some of you are in the room, that are under a lot of pressure to take your IT infrastructure to the cloud, whereas you haven't even figured out how to fix your physical environment, how to consolidate, how to optimize the utilization of those, right? Because you don't know how much you're using of that. And you have to still deliver what we saw the first 5 challenges at a reduced cost, in a transparent manner, high quality of service, and you have to roll out those new services as quickly as your business demands it, right? So that's your IT environment. And how does BSM, propose to solve it? What does BMC do for our customers, right? How do we solve that? That's what we're going to talk about for the next, I suppose, another 5 minutes, and then I'll switch to the wrap-up. So BSM for us consists of 4 fundamental functional areas, right? The first one is, request and support. So when we say request and support, you must be familiar with the name Remedy, right? That's the platform we use to deliver the request and support, which is basically your users say, I need this within this time, right? In this manner. I need to onboard an employee, and I need this person's laptop to be ready by June the 15th, and I need it in Bangalore in this particular place in this cube number so-and-so. That's the request you're going to get, right? And it has to come through a medium, right? Let's call that the request and support, right? So you have to accept the request, and you have to go through a process of completing that request, or saying, yes, I acknowledge that I received your request. So what do we have, in that request and support area that, what are the functional areas, right? I mean, I said the name Remedy. Remedy is that platform. But what does it do? We have service request management. That's request. When someone has a problem, then they report it as an incident. So we have an incident management. And knowledge management. Has this problem occurred earlier, right? How do we do it? So known error database, problem management, change and release. So, fundamentally it touches your IT infrastructure in terms of making changes, modifications or additions or deletions to your environment, right? So that's where the interface is your request and support. And, we have found that one of the IT initiatives is around the ITSM, which is optimizing the touch point with your customer, right? Single touch point, give them self-service portal. E-governance in India is so big right now, right? I mean, we're working with a lot of government agencies to really support that e-governance model, centralizing that data so that they can offer, e-governance to the common man. So, I mean, ITSM for us, like request change, on-premise, on-demand, right? Those are all the mediums of delivery of those. But fundamentally, you need an interface, you need a catalog, and you need to be able to deliver those, right? Acknowledge that request. So that's the request and support. Then now that your request is in, what do you do with it, right? I got this request saying I need to onboard a new employee, or I need the server and I need this because I need to run a sandbox on it, and your developer needs it yesterday, right? Most often they need it yesterday. So you need this done right now. What are you going to do? What's your normal process say? You take the server. In some cases, you have to order the server, right? And then you have to look at the list of all the hardware requirements. You have to retrofit it, and then you pass it on to the application team, and then they'll have to install the applications required to run that sandbox, right, on all of those, and then they pass it back to you. So this thing goes back and forth, either paper process or not. So what we are doing is, taking this to the next step, which is provisioning and configuring, which is take that request and saying, how much of it can I automate? Let me give you an example of BMC. We drink our own, we use our own solutions, right? So when I bring a new employee on board, all I need to do is go into my HR portal and say, this is the start date of the employee, right? This is the start date and this is the location that the employee is going to be in. After that, I have to do absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, this is, when they first rolled this out, it was an absolute shocker to me. You don't have to do anything. That morning, the HR person will be at the door waiting for this person to show up, lead him to his cube, which has already got his name and his everything there. His laptop with a BlackBerry and everything is ready on his table. And then he has a whole calendar of requests that day to be meeting with the operational folks, with the facilities, with everybody. Everything is already set up. And 95% of this, except for the part where the HR has to come shake his hand and bring him in the door, is automated. Right? Provisioning, requesting, getting the servers in place. I'm talking of a very simple use case, right? Now take that into a data center. Take that into a private cloud or a public cloud environment, right? Your IT teams are getting requests every day for application rollout, releases. They want to roll these out as quickly as possible. They want to update their applications. They want to, release those patches. Just the simple, it goes from simple to a highly complex environment, right? You can automate them all the way through. Right? So that's what we're talking about when we say provision and configure. Provisioning that request, configuring it and maintaining the configuration of that application, so to speak, from development all the way to production, right? So that's where we talk about, some of the most common initiatives that we have seen around there is data center operation, data center automation, right? P2V, we have got consolidation of data centers, because CIO's mandate is reduce your floor space by 10%. Right? Reduce your floor space by 10%, translate into cost for power and cooling onwards from hardware that is sitting on the floor that you're not consuming, right? So that's what we're talking about when we talk about data center consolidation. So client automation, simple as how do you roll out a patch across 1,500 desktops that are sitting in there, right? You go each individually and do it. You use LANDesk. What are you going to use to do that, right? So we're talking about that as well in terms of client automation. And of course, cloud lifecycle management, which is the bigger picture, right? Because this whole BSM, when you take it dynamically, it becomes cloud lifecycle management, right? So we're talking about provision and configure, and our most commonly used way to identify our provision and configure platform is Blade Logic, and that's what we use to kind of go to the provision and configure platform. We talked about Remedy and we talked about Blade Logic. So this is what we said, which is you have to provision and configure across various infrastructure components. I got the 5-minute thing going in the back, so I need to speed up. So, and then we're talking about the next. So now you have your request, you have provisioned it, And now somebody has to manage that, right? Somebody has to monitor and operate it. Somebody has to really say, okay, it's up and running or it's not available to me, right? Great, you have a server provision. Why can't I get to it? You know, why can't I do all the stuff I want to do on it? Or I can get to it, but it's not performing at the optimally as it should, right? That's where we talk about monitoring and operating. And whether it is availability management, or whether it is middleware management, whether it's application performance management, right? Because that's one of the key initiatives around monitor and operate. Monitoring is, you've got monitoring solutions a dime a dozen out there, right? But what value do our customers get out of the monitoring platform that we have is application performance management, which is traditionally you've been monitoring inside out, which is you look at your solutions and say, your server is up and running, your database is up and running, and everything is running, right? It's all greens, right? But the end user is still constantly complaining. Tell me how many of your end users say, fantastic job, you guys are doing, my application is available 100% of the time. Tell me if you have an end user like that and I'd like to come and work for your company, right? It ain't gonna happen. Whatever you guys do, they're gonna always complain. And in a sort of weird sort of way, they may be correct. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're available, let's say you have 6 silos in your IT environment, servers and networks and storage and all of those. Let's say you're all available 99% of the time. It means you're 1% you're not available. 99% of the time, 6 silos. What does this translate to in availability for a customer? 94%. Do you get that? Cumulatively, if each of you have been unavailable 1% of the time, that adds up to 94% availability for the customer, right? So in a weird sort of way, they may be correct because you're only looking at it from a siloed perspective, right? So we don't think about it that way. And how do you know whether it's true, whether it is isolated to one part of the users or not? Right? You do it by measuring their end users. So that's why BMC has really done a tremendous work over the past 5 years in really building the application performance management, which is the end user perspective all the way down into your Java code. We give you complete visibility across the stack. Right? So we monitor the end user, which is the end user transaction monitoring all the way into down at the code level. Right? So and then of course you really want to know why you're spending your money, right? And you wanna know that in using a tool, spreadsheets, which way you manage it. But of course, BMC has a solution built by CIOs for CIOs, which is a plan and govern solution, which we call as ITBM, and that basically provides you visibility and access into financial planning, project management, budgeting, service costs. Where are you sending showbacks to the business? And how, chargebacks as well. So to be able to understand where you're spending most of your money on. So that kind of brings us to the next area, which is how do you do that? We talked about the common data model early on, right? I said, how do we do this? This is using the common data model. The common data model resides in the CMDB, right? And that's familiarly known to our customers as Atrium. Right? It's sort of the atrium, the building atrium. So it sort of falls under that. It's the CMDB. It's a common configuration management database, and it's supported through various functions like dashboards, to interface with the customers, discovery, by discovering what are all the assets that you have out there, and then building a service model that can be used across the board. Yeah? So I'm going to take less than 1 more minute, if that's all right. Yeah. So I just want to talk to you about how our customers, whether they are large Fortune 100, Fortune 500, in various industries, are really taking this BSM and going, forward with it, and how are they delivering on their initiatives, corporate or financial initiatives, right, and delivering on this. So I'm going to speed up a little bit. I mean, we're talking about a heterogeneous environment, right? This is a given. You're not ever going to change that. You're never going to have an organization with homogeneous. Even in a house, the things are not homogeneous, right? Everybody likes a different thing. So in an organization as varied as some of you are, you're not going to be able to do that. And that's what really BSM brings to the table is how do you take that heterogeneity and apply a common data, model across those. And that's what BMC has done, and it's done it with all of these customers. And how have they done it, right? Do you take out everything that you have in-house and then replace it with this, right? No. There are various approaches. You can go BSM, which is the high-level approach, which, like the CIO of Travelers said, that's my job. I want to do BSM. So every time if you bring something to him, he would ask his customers. He'd ask his guys, how does it fit into my BSM model, right? Every question, every solution that comes in the door at Travelers, and which is the #1 insurance company in North America, and they've invested tens of millions of dollars in BMCs. How does it fit into my framework, right? That's the top one, right? That's BSM. And then you've got it by initiatives. I talked to you about initiatives, which is APM, Application Performance Management. So you can take just your monitoring platform and go just with that first, and then step by step, at a phased approach, you can go further. Or you can go by functions, which is you just want to fix your monitoring piece, you just want to fix the automation piece, and you just want to fix your service and support, your service support area, right? And you can go piecemeal as well. So by function, by initiative, or by a framework, right? Any one of these approaches will work. And of course, BMC is going to be with you all along the way, right? We do it by understanding what your as-is process is, right? We'll tell you where the gaps are. We'll tell you where these processes are highly mature or not mature, right? And then we will also establish a clear roadmap for you to better understand how you're going to get there, right? I mean, it's like going into Google Maps and saying, this is my current location, this is my destination, and it gives you a stop turn-by-turn directions on how do you get there. That's what BMC will do for you, is give you a framework of how do you get there, right? By understanding and assessing your organizational capabilities, your skills and gaps, people, process, and technology, and then helping you through that process, right? And of course, we have a very large partner ecosystem. We value our partners tremendously, and so they also bring their skills in specific areas to help us deliver on those. So that kind of brings me to the conclusion of what BMC brings to you and how BMC is going to get you to Vegas more specifically, right? And so who's BMC and where we are physically located? Our headquarters are based out of Houston, Texas, right? And actually, that's the real representation of one of our 3 buildings that is in Texas. And we're 100% focused on BSM. BMC is not in the business of selling hardware. BMC is not in the business of selling storage. BMC is not in the business of selling services, right? We focus, our bread and butter is from BSM, is from software, right? And that's what we do best. And our winning strategy is we want to be the de facto platform for the IT management framework. And we are committed to heterogeneity. We don't align ourselves with one or the other. We play nice with everybody, right? And of course, we want to be the go-to for cloud, virtual, physical, any of your infrastructure environment. And of course, I mean, we invest 40 to 50% of our operating margins back right into the business, and most of it goes into R&D. We are very committed to R&D, right? And of course, our fiscal highlights, we'll talk to you a little bit about it. I mean, the numbers are pretty strong. There's nothing I can add to that. I mean, we are a publicly traded company listed on NASDAQ as BMC. And of course, the penetration, this is really important for all of you guys who are here. I mean, you represent various industries, so I really couldn't focus on use cases around specific industries. But you see the breadth of, depth, I mean, the depth we have, top 20 commercial banks in the world, top 20 utilities, telecommunications, insurance, you name it, we have it. Because again, like I said, it's not industry specific. These challenges are common across and, can be solved across. But I do want to kind of close with one quote from joint MD of the Future Group in India, because I mean, of course, you've got my team members that are there that have sold to Vodafones and the Future Groups and the NetMagics here. But I do want to close this with why companies partner with us, right? He says, BMC product suite is strategically aligned with our overall vision and growth plans, and we are happy to be partnering with such a company. We're already reviewing how the products can be leveraged for areas such as business operations, facilities management, etc. And this was done by Rakesh Biani. He's a joint MD of Future Group, right? So this, companies partner with us not because of the solutions. I mean, there are lots of vendors out there that can provide you a ton of solutions, more than you can handle. But I think it's the partnership that we provide to our vendors that, that customers that work with us. So in that, spirit of partnership, our teams will be right there behind. So as you go through this competition, we'll be more than happy to help you with your use cases. So with that, I thank the guys for your time and being patient. I know I exceeded the time by a few more minutes, but I'm ready to hand it over. Thank you.